I did another session of GC therapy, but this time I made a forum so people could share their stories even if they couldn't be there for the stream. Here's how it went. And now, we just got a first person who signed up for a live session. We've got Pro Fluffy who signed up. So, Pro Fluffy, feel free to tell us all about your run.
Well, I did like 1 games and 1 like 2.
Wait, okay, 10 games. You went 2 and 8? Okay, yeah, that's rough. So, what happened during those games? Like, did you run into something weird, or were you just outplayed?
I made the mistake of running AV Ice Horse.
A mistake of locking the wrong team. It's very unfortunate when early on you start realizing that you might have made a mistake. Why did you decide to run AV Ice Horse?
I stole Underhill's team.
Oh, okay. Teams.
Also, not having time to play doesn't help, but just losing so many really tanked my confidence.
Yeah, I get it. And like I was gonna say, like those types of teams are the kind of teams where you really rely on flowcharts, and for that you either need to have the flowchart already written and sent your way, or you need to play a lot of games to be comfortable with knowing what the flowcharts are like. On the bright side, this is the last GC for Reg G, so hopefully Reg I is gonna be a good sign for you.
Reg I is already feeling better.
That's really good to hear. I think we all say that, and I think it's because it's true. We all have our ups and downs. One bad tournament run doesn't define you as a player.
The next GC, I'm getting top 4.
That's the spirit. I can't wait to hear about you in the next therapy session, not because you need it, but because your opponents needed it. Alright, Zopi, what has been bothering you?
Have you ever told you the definition of insanity? It's doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result.
And I'm guessing that you're pointing that out because it applies to your current situation?
And it's also my job.
Yeah, it sounds like it is. I don't talk about my salary because you don't want to hear about my salary. Like, talking about my salary is probably worthy of its own therapy session.
This may not be related to the global challenge.
It sounds like it's not, but you know what? I think that the Pokemon community as a whole has needed a therapist for way too long. Unfortunately, it is probably the least qualified person possible, but we've got one. Did you have more that you wanted to talk about your problems, or was that basically it?
Vita, I'm looking for something. I have spent 3 months inside a sewer.
You've spent 3 months inside a sewer trying to become Batman and failing to become Batman. You remember when I said that I'd give some horrible advice, but have you tried becoming an orphan?
I have encountered a total of 2579 critters.
You know that Batman is an orphan. Do you have loving parents?
Parents, yes, loving. Not so much.
And you know, I don't even know if Batman's parents were loving or not, but I do know that he was an orphan. If you lose your parents, you might be able to become Batman.
I don't have an obsession with sewers. I have an obsession with green baths.
Are you trying to start a global pandemic all over again?
RN.
Do I want an answer about this one? Am I just going to see...
Some things are better to be kept unknown.
You know what? On that note, I'm gonna stop the session here. I wish you best of luck to find your bat, and a bit less luck with starting a global pandemic. Thank you for coming to GC therapy. Okay, we've got someone else. Hello, Waffles. Welcome to therapy.
Why is every ice horse in prison? I ran my Vancouver team. I didn't even run into that many, but all of them were in prison.
You know, the more I hear about people's runs, the more I believe my theory that they intentionally pair you into the worst matchups possible. We might have to do an investigation.
Also, getting sick during the weekend didn't help my play.
Oh yeah, getting sick definitely is gonna hurt you.
And ended on Discharge Iron Moth. At least that was funny.
Iron Moth gets discharge? I need to know more. At least in my experience, every single team that I've seen with an extremely weird choice like that has at least 1 or 2 more weird choices.
Burst Noiver, Orangara, Bastiodon, and Necrozma Duskmane.
Oh my god, okay. Since I really noticed that you didn't mention the result, did you end on a win or a loss?
I won.
Okay, thank god. You sound good enough that you probably would have won
I
something.
had to click wide guard because funny, and I saw Discarge.
I love when funny decisions work. Was it mainly just running into bad matchups?
Tilting a bit near the end, and Sanseer also didn't want to connect.
It never connects, and then the moment when you accept it's never gonna hit, it starts hitting. The moment you put Sanseer on your
Won
team.
a lot of games I lost. That's something I can work on.
at least it was a learning experience. From the games that you played, you figured out how you could have played better, which is, in the long run, way more important than getting the immediate wins. Getting a win is good. Being able to win consistently, way better. You're not going to see results immediately, or if you do, they might not always be the most consistent. Getting good is a process that takes time.
Last story, almost lost to Scarf Muraden, but my opponent decided to not target my Ursh, so I won.
That's also one thing that you need to keep in mind when playing matches, like especially GCs, but just in general. But I feel like with best of 1 closed team sheets, it happens way more because people are going to try to keep into account way more possibilities than what there actually are. You can always play into a choke. One thing that's very important to learn for GCs is that your opponent might and probably will choke at some point. Even though you probably lost and that there might not be any chokes possible, remember that this is Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. Your opponent might DC at the very end of the match, giving you the win. Never give up. So that was the last thing you wanted to share, or did you have more about the GC?
No, that's everything.
Alright, we're going through the next one.
I once had my opponent lead hands CSR, and they belly drummed and trick roomed in front of my Mirai and Whimsicott, and I had never been swagged on so hard in my life.
You know, I don't think I can comment on this. Like, I'm so sorry that you ran into the coolest person ever. You know what's very unfortunate when you run into a team like that? It's the fact that you know that this is the only time you're ever gonna run into it, but it's not gonna stop you that the moment you're gonna see an Iron Hands and CSR, you're automatically gonna think about that time you lost to that combo specifically. If you lose to something like this, I only have one bit of advice, which is very irresponsible and definitely not something that you should actually do, but you should just drink so much that you forget about that match. You're not gonna say, yeah, this is about to be belly drum trick room the moment you see your Iron Hands Calyrex lead. Let's move on to the next submission.
First 7 games of the GC. 3 Swagger Grimmsnarl and 2 Toxic Spike Sneasler Stall.
Remember earlier when I said that it sounds like the GC intentionally pairs you to the worst matchups possible? Yeah, I stand by that. 3 Swagger Grimmsnarls are just 3 people who just didn't want you to have a good time. Don't worry, they probably don't have friends. At the end of the day, you're still a true winner at life. Probably. At least I hope so. For the 2 Toxic Spikes Sneasler, that is very unfortunate. I wouldn't be surprised if the last Victory Road tournament might have been the reason why those people ran Toxic Spikes Sneasler, considering that Toxic Spikes Sneasler finished 2nd at the VR tour, and that might have inspired some people to run the exact same thing. So I guess my only advice is to invent time travel, really. You know, simple enough. Let's move on to the next one.
I used Mewtwo, but it was fun. I'm never using it again.
I don't think you need therapy if you had fun playing the game.
Endeavor Whims. It forces me to respect Whims so much when half the time it's just a standard set, but if I ever forget that Endeavor is an option, I'm getting swept. Oh my god.
Yes. Whimsicott. For this one, I'm gonna share a secret about Whimsicott. Whimsicott always runs Covert Cloak and Focus Sash at the same time, and runs Protect, Tailwind, Encore, Taunt, Misty Terrain, Moonblast, Endeavor, Cotton Spore, and Sunny Day, all at the same time. I hope that you know that Whimsicott in closed team sheet is very fun, and I hope that this advice is gonna help you with your success in the future.